Bedtime Stories for Kids, The Elves and the Shoemaker. In a quiet town where cobblestone streets curved like ribbons and lamplight glowed soft in the windows, there lived a humble shoemaker named Elias. His shop stood at the corner of the square, small, faded, and full of quiet hope. He was a good man with a gentle face and careful hands, known for crafting the sturdiest soles and the most comfortable boots in town. But times had grown hard. Orders slowed. The cost of leather rose. And though he worked from dawn to dusk, Elias and his wife Marta barely earned enough to buy bread. One frosty evening, Elias sat hunched over his workbench, a candle burning low beside him. He stared down at a single piece of leather, all that was left. Just enough for one last pair of shoes, he murmured. Marta brought him a warm mug of tea, her smile tired but kind. "Cut the leather tonight," she said, placing a hand on his shoulder. "You can sew it in the morning. Perhaps it will bring a customer. Perhaps tomorrow will be better." Elias nodded. He traced the outlines carefully, cutting the leather into soles and panels, lining them up as he always did. "If it doesn't sell," he whispered, "I'll have nothing left to work with." He blew out the candle and climbed the stairs to bed, Marta's fingers finding his in the dark. "We'll be all right," she said softly, but neither truly believed it. At dawn, a pale golden light poured through the frosted windows of Elias's shop. He stretched, ran a hand through his thinning hair, and made his way down to the workbench. He stopped at the bottom stair, his eyes wide. "Marta, come look." There, where he had left only leather pieces, stood a pair of shoes, perfectly sewn, polished to a warm gleam, laces tied with delicate care. Elias reached for them with trembling hands. "But I didn't sew these," he whispered. "But I didn't sew these," he whispered. Marta came beside him, eyes just as wide. "They're beautiful," she breathed. "Better than anything we've ever sold." Before they could make sense of it, the bell over the door jingled. A well-dressed gentleman stepped in, boots clicking against the wood floor. His eyes landed on the shoes. "Marvelous," he said, "just my size. How much?" Too stunned to argue, Elias named a price. The man paid gladly and left smiling. Elias clutched the coins, stunned. "Marta, we can buy leather. Enough for 2 pairs. "Do it," she said. "Let's see what happens." That evening, Elias carefully cut the leather for 2 pairs of shoes, arranged the pieces on his workbench, and left them just as before. The next morning, 2 pairs, perfectly finished, awaited him. And the morning after that, 4 pairs. Soon, customers came without needing to be called. Word of Elias's shoes spread. Gold returned to their home. Marta filled the cupboard with flour and potatoes. The cracks in the roof were patched. The laughter returned to their voices. But Elias could not shake the mystery. "Who is helping us?" He wondered aloud, and why? Days passed, then weeks. The shop was thriving, but Elias's curiosity grew. "It's not right," he said one evening, placing another set of leather cuttings on the bench. Something is helping us. We should know who." Marta agreed. That night, instead of going to bed, they lit only a small candle, pulled 2 chairs behind a curtain, and waited in silence. The shop grew colder. The candle dimmed. Then, just as the clock chimed midnight, the door creaked open. 2 tiny figures slipped through the crack, no taller than a loaf of bread. Their clothes were ragged, their feet bare, but their faces were bright with mischief and concentration. "Elves," Marta whispered, eyes wide. The little beings clambered onto the workbench and immediately began to work. One unrolled a thread spool as big as his torso. The other wielded a needle like a sword. Their fingers flew. They cut, stitched, hammered tiny nails into heels, buffed leather with scraps of cloth. They did not speak, but they smiled as they worked, humming a quiet tune known only to their kind. By dawn, the shoes were done, as flawless as ever. The elves wiped their brows, glanced once around the silent room, and disappeared out the door like a gust of wind. Elias and Marta sat frozen. "They've saved us," Elias said softly. "And they wear rags and no shoes," Marta added. "It's time we gave something back." The next day, Elias gathered his finest scraps of soft brown leather, the kind he had once only dreamed of using. Marta brought out her best fabric, bits of wool, and thread the color of cherries and cream. Bedtime stories for kids. They worked in secret. And the shoemaker. Elias made 2 pairs of tiny shoes, stitched with care and polished to a mirror shine. He shaped soles no bigger than walnuts and laced them with golden thread. Marta sewed 2 miniature shirts, each with a row of perfect little buttons, and tiny trousers and jackets. She added soft mittens, scarves, and even pointed hats lined with fleece. When they finished, they wrapped the clothes and shoes in ribbon, and on Christmas Eve, they laid them out neatly on the workbench. No leather pieces, no thread, no tools. Then they hid once more and waited. At the stroke of midnight, the elves arrived. They stepped onto the table, expecting the usual work, but stopped short. Their wide eyes took in the bundles, the tiny boots, the coats and hats, the warmth and color of it all. Slowly, reverently, they dressed, buttoning the shirts, pulling on the boots. They twirled in their coats and tapped their toes against the bench. Then they danced. Hand in hand, they spun across the table, laughing, leaping, clapping their hands in joy. Their feet made soft rhythms on the wood. They bowed deeply to the empty room and vanished out the door. Elias and Marta never saw them again, but they never forgot them. From that night on, their shoes always sold. Their hearts remained full, and though no magic hands returned, the love that had once been shared between strangers stayed in the stitches of every pair Elias ever made. Because kindness, once given, always finds its way back.